Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back. I am your local art witch, and today we are continuing our journey into the Minor Arcana of Tarot. We have arrived at the number 7, so we've been on a bit of a journey so far and just discovering how each of these elements display these ideas at different sections of life. We've been through a lot so far in the story of each of these suits. 7 is kind of action or the contemplation thereof. Something new is kind of beginning here. So we have from left to right, swords, pentacles, cups, and then the wands. Swords is the air element. Air is about our communication, our thoughts, and communication, not just how we verbally communicate, but it can be body language, it can be your text messages, any way that you interact with the world. These cards, I brought a couple extra this time so we can see the difference in how different decks may display these same ideas. We have the Modern Witch Tarot, and this card is from the Ethereal Visions deck. And there's obvious differences in the way that they colored it. This is a very soft pastel-y deck. This is very bright. This one, for me, is easier to pick out all of the details. Everything kind of stands out. This one, as gorgeous as it is, I love this deck, don't get me wrong. It's a little more difficult to see these details, especially in the background. And sometimes the background elements can tell us a lot. In here, we have this background of what looks to be a tent. Like, I get this idea that this was a battleground and this fellow is going around and just cleaning up the extra swords that were left behind. And it's interesting because he looks sneaky, this character. Maybe it's because he's sort of hiding the swords within his cloak. He's looking off to the side. His knee is a little bent here. So it's an interesting choice. And this character here, she's got her swords and she's also looking behind her. We get this feeling that we need to be careful in some way, especially with our words, being more diplomatic, careful with how we are communicating with anybody or how we're even interacting within the world. Sometimes this idea of sneakiness and how this is about communication, little fibs, white lies can sometimes be a little bit better than being so brutally honest. Being aggressive isn't going to help us in this situation. I do find it interesting with how this is chosen. So both characters are carrying 5 swords. They are carrying it differently, and these do give me different ideas as to what is happening. She looks like she's making an escape because all of the swords are up over her shoulders here. But this character here, he's got 4 in his cloak and then he's got 1. He's either caught in the middle of collecting these swords or, he's collecting these swords and he's been caught. Somebody has caught him because it looks like he's looking up. He's stopped in the middle and he has this sword out to, in my mind, the story I'm building here, it looks like he's ready to possibly fight off whoever just interrupted him. This character from the Modern Witch Tarot does not give that idea to me. And each of these characters are carrying 5. And earlier in our journey, when we talked about the 5 is a difficult, tricky number. It's about life's difficulties. So it's very interesting that they're carrying 5, leaving behind 2. It would be very interesting to know the deeper meaning of why that is. With this, the character carrying 5, it does give me this idea that it's a difficulty, like something they're carrying, something extra. The next card we have here is the 7 of Pentacles. And here we see this character next to plants. This is a very common way to display this card. It's usually a lady kind of overlooking her fields, looking at the harvest. She's done a good job. Pentacles is the earth element, and it's about that hard work, career, reaping what you sow. So she's put a lot into her plants and she is about to be rewarded for it. However, this would require consistency, which is very earth element. we can take a little bit of a break, a breather from all of our hard work. Giving us that little break will give us a fresh perspective and to be able to get back to it. Next, we have the Seven of Cups. And this is pretty exciting because we have this character overlooking these cups. This is very a common way to look at this card. We have a character looking either up or into these clouds with these cups with these items inside. And here I have the Golden Art Nouveau to compare to this Modern Witch Tarot. And it's very interesting because, once again, I'm getting a different story from these two cards. This, we're looking over all of our options. We see this heart, probably romance. This snake, maybe change. This looks like a tornado. So I'm not sure. I would have to reread this. But look, we see money. This seems like empowerment here with this fist. And so she's looking, and she has all the options in front of her. She's dreaming with these clouds here. The cups is water element, so emotions, and things look very good for this character. This character over here, similar. He's got all these options, but the way that the clouds and cups were placed gives me the feeling that he's walking into this and he's going on a journey. Like he's going to be able to successfully reach all these things because of how the artist drew our eye throughout the cards. The only negative I would say is this cup with the snake kind of blends in with the card, the background I should say. We've got this dragon and this laurel, so that could be perhaps victory, riches. We see like a ghost and a statue head. Let's just read about what this exactly means, all these little symbols, because it is very interesting. But overall, we are looking over our choices. We have a lot of them. So remember, action or the contemplation thereof. We're contemplating, we are thinking, we have all these options, and it's all ours, provided we're making the right decision. Finally, over here, we have the Seven of Wands. We have a character up on top of a hill, and there's these wands. We get this idea that there's probably characters down here heckling this poor fellow, and we get the very same image here. Now, because of the art style or something, this card looks more empowered to me, this Modern Witch Tarot. We're up on this cliff. We are fighting to stay up here. We have come a long way, and all these seem to be against us, maybe. So we have this idea of inner strength, determination. Like, look at their faces. Fire is very active, and we totally get that idea with this. Now, the other difference, this is the Rider Waite. I find it interesting, and I love it when artists carry through an idea through an entire suit. The artist in the Modern Witch Tarot shows this dry desert theme for all of the wands, which is perfect for fire. We want to think about dry, warm, possibly a little, I don't want to say dangerous, but when I think of the cactus and the even chili peppers, you know that they're there, and I like that. And then the Rider Waite had very general backgrounds just of grass, but that makes sense for the time and place that these cards were originally illustrated. When we go back to look at for our reversals, going back to the Seven of Swords, need for diplomacy, gotta be careful with how we're communicating with others. It's almost more of a contemplation of action for the swords, being careful. Upside down, a reverse reading is usually the inverse, almost the, I don't want to say the opposite of the upright meeting, but we're taking the idea and flipping it a little. Things are going awry when it's upside down. We get the idea that this character has successfully gotten away with these swords when it's upright. Their words, their fibs. As long as they're careful, they're going to get away with it. When it's flipped upside down like this isn't great. We got to be extra careful when we're seeing this reversal as a warning, an extra warning to be very careful. Things may go wonky. Perhaps dwelling on past mistakes. That type of thing is going to get in your way when you're communicating, when this act of diplomacy blows up in our face. The Pentacles. This character overlooking their harvest, a moment of rest. Upside down, we are, instead of looking over with pride at everything we have achieved, we are pitying ourselves, focusing on the difficulties that we are surrounded by, and that's valid. I think we can each have a time to sit and grieve a moment. It speaks of this card when it's upside down specifically. I think of anxiety, perhaps this anxiousness that our harvest isn't going to come in, these obstacles that just seem like we are not going to be able to overcome. That wall seems too tall, too wide, too big for us to climb over. The Seven of Cups. Cups, for me at least, especially when they're upside down, can be very easy to read, because when you think of a cup, usually there's some kind of liquid in it, and when they're upside down, it's all going to spill out. The Seven of Cups, all these dreams, all of these thoughts and hopes, they're all in front of us, and making the right choice is going to help us achieve our dreams. With a reversal, these goals, these dreams are a lot less realistic than we think that they are. There's a dissipation of these energies. I can almost visualize these items falling out of these cups, kind of just going back into the ether. Perhaps this idea of a lack of confidence is what is getting in our way. Getting this card upside down may be a really good indication to sit, think, write it down, and reorganize from there. Seven of Wands, this active, fighty card, very empowering. They look like they've got it handled. And upside down, instead of handling our stuff and righteously defending ourselves, it's more about being overly aggressive, competitive in situations that we don't need to be. Perhaps this idea, like they're fully sure in the upright card. Upside down, there's a very real chance that there is indecision. Perhaps we're not fighting for the right things. Perhaps we are not on this above plateau as we think we are. So it's a lot to think about. And one thing that I really enjoy about tarot, even if you're a very logical person and you're like, this isn't telling me my future or anything, I find it a very useful way to get back in touch with my intuition, because these pictures, as humans, we are very, or can be, I know we all learn differently, we can be very visually motivated. And these little stories, especially as you sit and really study your cards, and if you can afford to have maybe even 2 decks to compare them and get different associations, it can bring up things from your subconscious into your consciousness that maybe you weren't able to look at before. I think of it like you're watching a horror movie and you see what the character is doing, and you know that it's going to result in them not making it to the end of the movie because you're outside of the situation. And cards, tarot, really helps me to do that, and it tends to be on point every time, in part because I'm following my intuition. I'm getting different messages at different times because my situation is changing, because I need a different message at that time, and my brain is finally able to be open to that. So when we're doing a read for somebody and we're seeing similar themes, similar numbers, maybe a lot of either reversals, the same number, perhaps a color is really popping out to you at a particular time, like this very orange background here. I like to pay special attention to those because my brain is trying to tell me something. So these are the sevens of the Minor Arcana. Once again, we are thinking about either being active or contemplating our next action. 7 is kind of a funny number in that way. We're going into almost a new chapter, a new arc. If you're a storyteller and you think of like plot progression, you can see this moment of pause in this chapter here, and this feeling like something is going to be happening soon. And so that's pretty exciting. So at some point, I want to do a few live streams where I pull a couple cards for people, just a fun way to hang out, get to know each other, try to build these associations using it in real ways that you can relate to your real life is going to be one of the most helpful things that you can do for your tarot journey. We are definitely being told something if we pull a 7 from each element. It would tell me, even without looking, that I need to slow down for a second to think about what it is that I'm doing, to reassess, to look over what I have done, to be careful with my words, to be diplomatic. This, like a manifestation type of vibe is going on here, to think it over, permission to dream for a moment, and then getting into action. So those are the 7s. Next time we are going to be moving to 8. And if anybody is interested in doing a live stream, let me know, because I just want to hang out with y'all. So those are the 7s of tarot. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is a lot of fun. I hope you got something useful out of this video. And if you did, if you could leave me a like, a subscribe would be exciting, and a comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks again. I have been your local art witch. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all again next time. Take care. Bye-bye for now.